A historical analysis, the origins of mythology. Ergotism, food preservation failures, and the manifestations of monsters born from fear. Human civilization's history intertwines with its relationship to food, safety, and the ever-present specter of disease. As societies evolve, they encountered various challenges, particularly in food preservation and the consequences of consuming toxic substances. One of the most influential yet misunderstood phenomena in this context is ergotism, a condition caused by the ingestion of the ergot fungus found on rye and other grains. The implications of such poisonings have stretched far beyond health, birthing rich mythologies that reflect humanity's enduring fears and cultural beliefs. This historical analysis delves into the intricate connections between ergotism, food preservation failures, and the resulting mythological manifestations, exploring how these elements have shaped human narratives throughout time. The dark legacy of ergotism. Ergotism, deriving from the consumption of grains contaminated with the fungus Claviceps purpurea, has plagued human populations for centuries. The condition manifests in two primary forms, convulsive and gangrenous. The convulsive form presents with neurological symptoms such as hallucinations, spasms, and severe psychological disturbances. Historically, these symptoms were often misinterpreted as evidence of witchcraft, divine punishment, or the influence of malevolent spiritual forces. During the Middle Ages, outbreaks of ergotism coincided with poor agricultural practices and harsh climate conditions that led to crop failures. Communities, particularly in Europe where rye was a staple, struggled to make ends meet. In desperate times, people relied on whatever grain was accessible, often consuming contaminated bread. As victims of ergotism exhibited convulsive symptoms, community anxieties about supernatural influences surged. It was easier for people to attribute misfortune to hidden evils than to accept the harsh reality of environmental and agricultural failings. This phenomenon reached a pinnacle during the Salem witch trials of the late 17th century, where the symptoms displayed by afflicted individuals were viewed through a lens of hysteria and superstition. Some contemporary scholars have posited that ergot poisoning could explain the bizarre behaviors of accusers, further intertwining the effects of dietary contamination with societal fears of witchcraft and moral decay. Thus, ergotism's impact extended well beyond the biological. It influenced cultural narratives that emphasized divine punishment, moral failure, and societal chaos. The importance of food preservation. The vulnerabilities surrounding food preservation have played a crucial role in shaping human beliefs and responses to nutrition. Before advancements in food safety and storage, communities bore the weight of uncertainty surrounding the integrity of their food supplies. Traditional practices such as drying, pickling, or fermenting were methods to combat spoilage, but these techniques were not infallible. Inadequate storage practices or the mistaken belief that spoiled food was still safe to consume led to many instances of foodborne illnesses throughout history. The fear invoked by these realities often transformed into mythological creatures that embodied those very dangers. For example, tales of ogres and witches consuming humans can be viewed as reflections of food security anxieties, symbolizing the constant risk of sickness from rotting or tainted food. In ancient and medieval folklore, monsters could be seen as manifestations of societal fears: fear of hunger, fear of death, and fear of the uncontrollable forces of nature. Communities often created rituals or mythological frameworks to cope with these fears, employing folklore as a means of cultural survival. Fear's role in forming mythology. The interplay between food safety, ergotism, and societal fears paved the way for rich mythological stories that persist to this day. When people encounter the inexplicable, be it a sudden illness accompanied by bizarre behavior or harvest failures leading to famine, their imaginations turn to supernatural explanations. Mythology offers a narrative structure, allowing people to understand and cope with the chaos around them. Entities like the werewolf, vampire, and even witches encapsulate these fears, providing an archetypal means to discuss the dangers associated with food and disease indirectly. Werewolves. The werewolf myth, for instance, intertwines the themes of transformation and loss of control, featuring a human who transforms into a ferocious beast at the full moon. The werewolf symbolizes uncontrollable urges and primal instincts, likening it to the chaotic and unpredictable nature of foodborne illness. Psychological afflictions, combined with the physiological consequences of ergotism, may have contributed to tales of werewolves in medieval Europe, where people exhibiting rabies-like symptoms could easily have inspired fear of transformation into something monstrous. Vampires. Similarly, the vampire myth emerged during tumultuous times, marked by epidemic diseases and societal upheaval. As unexplained deaths occurred, a convenient explanation arose: the idea that the dead were returning to feast upon the living. When people witnessed siblings and relatives falling ill and dying from what they believed were inexplicable causes, the figure of the vampire became an embodiment of their fears. It transformed sickness into a narrative, allowing communities to process collective grief, guilt, and anxiety surrounding mortality. Food security fears were again manifest. For communities with limited resources, the idea of someone who could drain the life essence from others resonated deeply. Witches. Witchcraft accusations often had parallels to food safety concerns, as those labeled as witches faced scrutiny regarding their practices, especially in contexts where food spoilage or sudden illness occurred. As communities grappled with their crop failures and resulting famines, any misfortune could be attributed to nefarious witchcraft, feeding into the hysteria surrounding ergotism. The witch became not just a figure representing evil, but also a tangible embodiment of societal anxieties over health, nourishment, and survival. Historical cycles of fear and myth. The historical cycles of food-related crises and their outcomes illustrate profound connections between reality and myth. Each epidemic or outbreak brought about a renewed examination of societal values, fears, and beliefs. In times of crisis, the line between the mundane and the magical blur, creating myths from deeply felt fears rooted in real dangers, but expressed through the richness of human imagination. As societies evolve, the narratives surrounding their fears adapt, but often retain the core themes of their origins. Contemporary issues around food safety, such as concerns over genetically modified organisms, GMOs, artificial additives, and foodborne illnesses, still evoke anxieties reminiscent of past crises. In today's world, mythological themes persist in popular culture, manifesting in horror films, literature, and digital storytelling, where ancient fears find new expressions. The legacy of myth in modern society. In conclusion, the historical connections between ergotism, food preservation failures, and the emergence of mythological creatures serve as a powerful reminder of humanity's ongoing battle with fear and the unknown. As our understanding of biology, health, and food safety advances, the mythologies born from earlier crises never fully dissipate. Instead, they evolve and adapt, reflecting the vulnerabilities and anxieties of each new generation. By analyzing these connections, we can better appreciate how cultural myths are not merely relics of the past, but living narratives that continue to shape contemporary mindsets around food, health, and the unfamiliar. Ergotism and its repercussions illustrate the dynamics of belief, the need for explanation, and the lengths to which humanity will go to retain its grip on understanding life's uncertainties. As we navigate the challenges of modernity, the stories and symbols derived from our historical encounters with disease remind us of our resilience and the age-old quest to find meaning in the chaos of existence. This article was converted for free by the courtesy of AudioRe. If you enjoy the service, please consider upgrading your plan to listen to up to 500,000 words per article. Simply go to audioread.com/ad, and you'll see the upgrade option. Your support helps us keep making the service better. Thank you.